But all right, here we go. Power rankings for the NBA. We are doing this on the Wednesday show this week. Got Scotty here. He's going to be throwing his 2 cents in on these as well.
These are your rankings.
These are
Chris,
my power rankings.
I will let you know how gross they are.
Yes.
Excellent. They could be great.
We
could be like the exact same person.
I mean, I don't miss very often, but you could tell me if I do. I missed on the Lakers tonight. True. And well, we still got the fourth quarter, baby. These are based off of, because I always like to put this disclaimer out, because every time I get into the YouTube comments and everything else, everyone's like, well, what about this team? What about this team? Should have made it. I'm like, hey, you know what? This is how they're playing. And currently, where these teams, in my opinion, are playing as of right now, and how they're looking in regards to their performance. And this isn't like the grand scheme of like my contender rankings or anything else, because I have different contender rankings than I do with these weekly kind of short-term power rankings. So anyways, let's go ahead and let's get into it. Number 10, the Phoenix Suns on the list here. Suns playing 17 of the last 22 games against teams with winning records, by the way. So they have a nice little uphill battle, but here's the thing. KD been playing out of his mind. There was a 3-game stretch where he had 35-point games or more in 3 straight games, and he was it was insane. Averaging 38, by the way, in those games. But like, here's the thing: they haven't been able to consistently all season long get on the same wavelength when it comes to actually playing with the big 3. But when they do play, they look okay, and they've been playing some defense as of late. So kind of like the way they've been playing a little bit more. KD's been playing a little bit better defense recently. Currently 11th offensive rating in the NBA, 13th defensive rating as of right now. So Suns did just enough to get in here at number 10, Scotty.
Yeah. Our local guy here in Denver, KCP, was on a podcast and asked who the biggest threat in the West is for the Nuggets. And he first mentioned the Suns. So I don't know if I agree with that sentiment, but Chris, you and I were a week ago at a Suns Nuggets game that didn't go our way. I think that's my fault. I'm really bad luck for the and Avs in person this year. But yeah, the Suns are good, but I don't. Yeah, it feels right around 10. Maybe they could be ranked higher, but like, if they play the Nuggets, they're gonna lose. They will lose.
I would not pick the Suns in a series against the Denver Nuggets by any means.
Well, you won't pick anyone against the Nuggets, nor would I.
Yeah. No, neither of us would.
Can we just spoiler alert this and just be like, we know who's at 1?
we do know who's at number 1. Spoiler alert. All right. Number 9 on the list. Pelicans have been surprisingly good recently. Only unbeaten team in the last month, having won 4 March games by an average of 22.3 points. On that stretch, a 101 defensive rating over some really good teams as well. So really...
To be clear, at home tonight, they lost by 21 to the Cavs.
Yeah, the Cavs. We'll get to them here in a minute. Actually,
just wanted to let you, like, by being perfect this month, I wanted to let you know that they're no longer
so far. But
tonight counts, I think.
Overall, been the best defensive team in the league since the All-Star break, only allowing 45.9 points in the paint per 100 possessions, which is best in the league as well. So they've been doing it on the defensive side. They're number 6th overall in defensive rating in the NBA. Offensively, they just need to figure out a few things, but they've been getting better with the Zion, and Zion's been consistently putting in some minutes. So anytime you can get him and Brandon Ingram on the same page, you have a nice little 1-2 combo there. So Pelicans coming in at number 9.
Reverse those, but okay.
All right. Number 8, New York Knicks. New York Knicks have kind of been in a weird spot. They've been literally banged up from top to bottom. Julius Randle and some of the other bigs and forwards on this roster have been in a rough spot. Also, you had Brunson, who's getting back up to speed after he had that leg contusion or whatever he was dealing with. But they've been really, really good. And they're actually a team that I think is one of the better teams in the East, given the landscape of what we've seen with the Sixers and some of these other teams who have kind of fallen off. But basically, I mean, speaking of the Sixers, they were in that weird turning back the clock into like the 1990s style of basketball game the other day, which was like just a rock fight. But they got win against a hot Orlando team, and I think when this was on my contender rankings, if they can get all of their bigs in a good spot where they're in a good rhythm with OG Anunoby, Julius Randle, all those guys, just really Robinson, all in a good spot, they could be one of the more physical teams in the playoffs. And then you add Brunson in on that mix with a dynamic guard who can score. There's a lot to like about the Knicks. Still on the upswing though, and I have them here at number 8.
Yeah, eight feels fine. I'm not, nor ever have been high on the Knicks as like a true title contender. They don't have a superstar on that roster, in my opinion. Like before, it was Julius Randle was their best player. I'm like, well, that's not good enough. And now it's Jalen Brunson. I'm like, that's still not good enough. The team can't truly compete yet, but they're pretty damn good 1 through like 4. Like I like Brunson, Randall, Barrett, and Anunoby as like a unit, but like, are they winning anything? No, they're not winning shit. Maybe a series, maybe 2. They're not making the finals, and they're not beating the Western Conference team in the finals, aka the Nuggets.
I think they could give a couple Eastern Conference teams some trouble physically if, again, like I said, they're fully healthy.
Yeah,
but
like I said, they could make it as deep as the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
But do I think they're truly title contenders? No.
Agreed. I think there's some other teams that I would put ahead of them.
Like 7 teams.
Keep close is laughing at Orlando. Orlando had a 5-game winning streak up until that loss to the Knicks. So the Orlando Magic had a nice little run. You can't take that away from Orlando. Come on, that's all they got. Come on, keep close. Got to give them something.
To be fair, I think like referencing, I mean, the Magic are 38. They're playing good ball.
Yeah. So anyways, Knicks coming in at number 8. I'm sorry. Number 8. Number 7, speaking of the Cavaliers popping in here at number 7. Offensive rating of 115, which ranks 16th in the NBA, but they do it all on the defensive side of the ball. They're dealing with a bunch of injuries. Donovan Mitchell out last 6 games, and they only had 2 starters, Darius Garland and Jarrett Allen, for the last 3, so they've kind of been in a weird spot. What's weird is they went 2-2, right? They managed to beat the Celtics and the Wolves last week, but they also managed to lose to the Hawks and the Nets, which are terrible losses. So, they've kind of been in a weird funk, but they've been weirdly good. I don't know. It's strange with how they're at, but where they're at in this. But I think injuries are a big part of what they're battling through. Once they get healthy, I think they'll be in a better spot. Defense got back on track, but only 109 offensive rating without Mitchell over that stretch. So offensively, they just haven't had any real potency when it comes to Donovan Mitchell missing all that time.
I think their key is Donovan Mitchell. If Donovan Mitchell's bubble Mitchell, they can go quite a ways based off the defense they have with Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley in the interior. Darius Garland's not elite, but like Chris LeVert. They added depth with like Max Strus. I like a lot of things of what they're doing, but they have to have Donovan Mitchell take over. Like Donovan Mitchell and this team played that Knicks team, I think, last year in the playoffs and looked shitty. They just looked like shit. So I need to see it from them. But if Donovan Mitchell plays to like peak playoff performance, Donovan Mitchell, this team could be sneaky for sure in the postseason.
Yeah, Cavaliers, if they get the right matchup, I think they can dethrone a couple of the teams that we might have above them on this list.
Outside of the Celtics, I don't know that there's a team that they can't beat in a 7-game series in the East.
It'll be interesting for sure. The East, I mean, obviously
I may not favor them, but they could be.
Obviously, the East, yeah, it's a little more wide open. The West is kind of, I mean, the West is pretty.
The West is a closed door.
West
Chris.
is pretty.
It's a closed door. There's only one team in the West.
Well, we might.
And it's Memphis.
We probably might get. We'll most likely
Obviously,
get to that team here in a minute. Number 6, Minnesota Timberwolves. Obviously, Karl Anthony Towns likely out for the rest of the regular season. At least he might be able to come back, but the Wolves are just 1-2 on a 6-game trip that continues for another 8 days. They've been out. The Wolves have outscored their opponents by only 2.4 points per 100 possessions in 182 minutes. With the other 4 starters on the floor without Towns. So Towns, they kind of miss based off of what they were getting from him. He's been playing some good ball. Again, we know we don't trust him in like those clutch moments when he's making those big decisions. But, on the other side, the Wolves are 12-6 against the league's top 7 offensive teams, having allowed just 108 points per 100 possessions over 18 games. Those teams having combined score of 119 otherwise. So they're still playing good defense. They just, they're missing a little bit with what they were getting from Karl Anthony Towns, and offensively still rank 18th in the NBA. Number 1 defensively, though, as they've been all season long.
Yeah, overall, I think people are still behind on Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards,
He's a baller.
Is in my mind right now, a top 10 player in the NBA. I don't think most people think of him that way. And I think he has the potential to be like top 5, top 3, maybe an MVP down the road. He's that good. Now they lost Cat for a while. Fully healthy, I think the Wolves are the second best team in the West.
Yeah. Fully healthy. I still question. They're getting a little bit better in some of their late game execution. I see flashes of it, but then they have flashes where they just can't figure out in clutch situations how to get over the hump against certain teams.
It feels like just let Anthony Edwards eat.
Yeah,
just let him go to work. That could be their solution. Their problem is that they have like Cat thinks he's the guy, and Cat ain't the guy. Cat's a nice piece. Don't get me wrong. Former number 1 overall pick. Really, obviously, all-star, really good player. 3-point contest winner at the NBA All-Star game. But Cat needs to realize Anthony Edwards is the guy.
Yeah, no,
in Minnesota.
Anthony Edwards should be the face of. I mean, if you're looking, we talked about this before. Like, who is the next face of the NBA when Steph and KD and LeBron slowly phase out? Who's going to be the guy?
Jokic, obviously. No,
it's
Anthony Edwards is right there. Like
he fits the bill.
Dude, I mean, last week when he made some shots and then blocked that shot to win the game, where his
torso hit the backboard.
Like his hip hit the backboard, basically.
Bruh.
Like, it was stupid how high he got on that.
It was.
The dude's a freak. Dude can make shots. He's so much better than I think people realize, and eventually they will realize. But it's just not out because if he was anywhere else. Minnesota right now, people would know.
Yeah,
but because in Minnesota, they're like, I don't know. Is he the good? He's good. He's way better than good. He's top 10 in the league good right now. And for me, the Timberwolves, especially if Karl Anthony Towns comes back and is healthy, are the biggest obstacle in the West for the Nuggets, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, they're still going to be very, very good. But little slippage here. Still very, very competitive. Still, I still have them kind of towards. They've been slipping in my contender rankings a little bit, but
I mean, they lost Cat, so it makes sense.
and again, I don't see as
And
much
we
as we
don't
love
know-
Anthony Edwards, a young guy taking a team to the promised land this young. It just doesn't happen. So there's just some stacked
we don't know
odds.
if Cat's going to be healthy moving forward.
All right, number 5. We have the LA Clippers, which I don't know if you saw this. It was trending on Twitter yesterday. LA Clippers, Kawhi Leonard just left the arena. They said it was back spasms, but for a guy that, we've really been giving a lot of love to because he's been actually playing and actually putting in the effort of trying to play games more regularly over the course of a regular season. It's kind of a bummer to see. Obviously, when he's out there, along with Paul George, who he's been out for a while, you just can't get these guys on the court together. Clippers are 5-5 since the All-Star break, 4-0 against teams with losing records, and 1-5 against teams with over 500 records. So, those are the kind of things that really stand out to me when it comes to getting into the playoffs. A lot of hype is coming in around the Clippers, and rightfully so. When they're all playing together on the same page, they're a really good team, and they have that starting lineup, and what they can do is very dynamic. But they still need to rebound, and they're not a very good rebounding team. They're 7-7 in the last 14 games, 17th offensively, and 23rd defensively over their last 14 games over that span. So not great generally. And, the Clippers weekend back-to-back, it was the start of a stretch of 5 games in 7 days. So it doesn't get easier for them, especially with this injury coming in. But offensively, ranking 4th overall in the NBA, defensively 14th. But have them here at 5th. They just need to get all their team together and healthy. And I don't know if they can do it.
Yeah, I think their regular season is top 5 team. Postseason, no chance.
Yeah. No.
Team's already cooked. This team cannot function as they're constructed in the postseason. You have too many me first people. Between Paul George, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, not even Kawhi. Kawhi probably at times could be more selfish, to be honest. He's the best player of those 4. But you just, once you get in postseason, those guys are going to be like, all right, time for me to take over. And it's going to be at the detriment in general to the team. They don't work together. They don't pass well together. So the sum doesn't meet the parts. And I do not feel like the Clippers, and a lot of experts out there feel like the Clippers are right in the mix as like co-favorites in the West. I, as a Nuggets fan, do not fear the Clippers at all. If the Nuggets and Clippers playing in the NBA playoffs,
it probably won't be.
It won't go more than 5 games.
It probably wouldn't be as competitive as a lot of people think it would be.
I mean, listen, look at the Clippers roster outside of Kawhi, Paul George, inconsistent in the playoffs. James Harden's wildly underachieved in the playoffs. Russell Westbrook off the bench, dude's just gonna shoot his life out until he can't. Like, it just, the mesh doesn't work. You watch the Nuggets play, and it's like a masterpiece in like ball movement and this and that and unselfishness. Yeah, I don't get any of those vibes from the Clippers.
And their bench is what has been keeping them in some of these games with Norman Powell and the way he's been shooting, and he's been doing some pretty solid things from them off the bench. So they've made some adjustments there, but overall, I think that the fact that they just can't get in a rhythm ever. This was what I said before the season started. If they can play games and get in a rhythm together, and they did for a little bit of a stretch, and they were on a roll, but that just hasn't Now look at Kawhi Leonard leaving the game, leaving the arena. Now he's got back spasms. How long is he going to be out? So on and so forth. So it's just another same old thing for the Clippers. Same old story. All right, number 4 on this list is the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee Bucks. This they're starting to climb a little bit. Offensively, overall, 5th in the NBA, 15th defensively. After allowing just 102.6 points per 100 possessions over a 6-game winning streak, defense has not traveled well. By the way, that defense, which has been doing some good things, has given up 123 defensive rating in their first 3 games of this last road trip. So they've been doing some good things defensively. Doc's got them playing better defensively, and the big question was offensive. How can they get better with this Dame and Giannis? Because Dame hasn't been shooting the ball very well this season. He's been uncomfortable trying to get in a rhythm with this pick and roll because he's not used to doing that from Portland. Giannis isn't used to doing it with a high-level player like Dame. And we've been seeing it actually a little bit. Over the last couple games, they've started to get the timing down a little bit better with timing the pick and roll to where Giannis is actually starting to do some playmaking a little bit off of that as well. So there's you get some glimpses and some flashes that they're starting to put it together. I just don't know if it's going to be enough in time. I mean, if they can continue to refine it, it might be. I think next season it's going to be a little bit better of a scenario for them after they kind of really get in the rhythm. But opponents have shot just 44.5% against Lillard this season, down from 50.9 last season. I think that Doc is getting a little bit more of a defensive effort from some of them. I mean, Lillard can be a defensive. He could be a road cone out there sometimes. But yeah, I mean, they've been picking it up a little bit better on the offensive side of the ball, and that's what they need to continue to get better at if they want to be competitive and beat teams like the Boston Celtics.
If I'm being honest, this team feels very much like the Suns of last year, where you have like these 2 guys that you can absolutely rely on and can like take over games and win games, but they have to be incredible each and every game for you to win. Along with that, the Suns weren't a great 3-point shooting team. This Bucks team is not a very good 3-point shooting. They need to get better from 3, and they can. I mean, they have guys that can hit it, so maybe they just get hot in the playoffs, and that makes them get on a run. But what we've seen regular season wise, we have Giannis, who's the best interior finisher right now in the league, bar none, not close. But he's limited in my mind outside of that. And then you have Dame, who was supposed to come in and just light the world on fire, and I don't know that he's done that. I mean, he's been good, but like inconsistent with his shooting. Based off what you think, his athleticism is not any stretch of the imagination elite or good. So like he's a liability on the other side of the ball, whether you want to think that or not. So for them to advance in the postseason, for me, it comes down to like you have to like go on a wild streak from 3 with all your guys. Well, Giannis is threes, but if Dane gets crazy hot, Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis, like guys have the potential to do it, but like they're not that good from 3 in general. And outside of those top 2 guys, I don't know who I trust.
Yeah, but here's the thing that I think they've been really improving as well is some of their clutch statistics, offensively, defensively. They're one of the only teams that rank top 5 in both offense and defense. I think they scored 24 points on just 11 clutch possessions, 8 for 8 from the field in one of the wins against the Clippers last week. So, those are the kind of metrics that translate more to the playoffs. I think that are going to really matter when it comes to playing teams like the Celtics, who really rely on jump shooting and a lot of those, maybe less of a high percentage shot. So if they can continue that and again refine the pick and roll, I think the Bucks can be in a good spot. I mean, there's some people that are picking them to go all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals now. and playing the Boston Celtics. So their stock is currently rising. Milwaukee doesn't like a team that's not if the Bucks aren't number one on this list, it's the bad list. It's a bad list.
I don't think it's a wild take to think the Bucks can make the Eastern Conference Finals by any stretch of the imagination. They definitely can. But I think he's more pointing out like not everyone. Like Chris Middleton's not been playing recently, which is fine. But I don't know.
Chris Middleton
is Chris Middleton.
He's not.
He's like now. He's very the first part of his last name very mid at best.
Well, he's not.
Chris Middleton is not the guy he was.
He's not the number one scoring option. He's not the number two scoring option. He's arguably. I mean, with Drew Holiday, is he the number three scoring option? I mean, obviously he's a good role player and he fits in here.
Drew Holiday's not on the Bucks.
Sorry. I'm thinking of whatchamacallit. Sorry.
What did Arnold Schwarzenegger say when his wife asked him why he hadn't updated to Windows 10? I still love Vista, baby. Sausage puns are the worst. My sister stomped on my foot and I told her about how cells divide. All I could yell was, mitosis. I'm currently reading a very exciting book. It's written by Paige Turner. What do you call a woman standing in the middle of a tennis court? Annette. Apple is developing a new car. He's middle tongue.
Hey. Thank you, P3, for all the bits. All of that. Appreciate the jokes and keeping things lively. No, I'm Emily Beasley, and even also to Pat Connaughton, some of these other guys who, I feel like
Pat who?
Connaughton.
Just thought you might have referenced a different Pat instead, but yeah.
I just think that there's going to be they're really
Bev will crown them champs and himself as MVP.
Well, true. I mean, he's gonna like start crying the minute they make it to the second round or the third round of the playoffs every single time.
What I can guarantee, I think this Bucks team's pretty good. What I can guarantee is this Bucks team does not win an NBA title.
No. I think that
I can guarantee that right now.
There's some teams that I think can hold them back. And again, they still need to figure out some things offensively. Thunder coming in at number 3. So the OKC Thunder, they have been a pretty good young team, Scotty. 3rd overall offensive rating, 4th overall defensive rating in the NBA. They had a rough offensive night in LA, but they always have a rough offensive night against teams that are bigger than them and that just more physical. They have no answer for the LeBron AD combo when it comes to the size. I've been talking about the size for the Thunder for a while. They, were able to get Gordon Hayward in, and he's been taking over some of the minutes that they've been missing Williams for a little bit, so they've been kind of trying to figure out how to fill some of those holes while he's injured, but. Overall, this team I think is very. They can be kind of for a little bit scary of a team if you're going up against them in the first round of the playoffs. I mean, i.e., not the Nuggets. I don't think the Nuggets would have an issue with them, but like if you're another team in the Western Conference and you have to play them early on, it might not be a great situation for you, considering. They have some different aspects of how they can beat you with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The only player that's really kind of questionable on that offense is Josh Giddey. And I've been saying all year long, he just isn't a good fit alongside Chet. But the Thunder have nearly been twice as good in 177 total minutes, a plus 14.5 per 100 possessions with the other 4 starters on the floor without Giddey. So it's like they just lean on Giddey in some of these possessions, but I just don't know if he's the right fit. 10-3 in their last 13 games. They continue to, still keep pace with the Denver Nuggets atop and the Minnesota Timberwolves atop the Western Conference. But I guess my question is, I don't think that they're going to be true contenders yet. They're still a couple years away. They still have some things. They're a very young team, and I'm curious. The biggest curiosity I have about the Thunder in the playoffs is how SGA is going to manage his first playoff experience. Is he going to be kind of in a position of being able to do what he wants from a, driving to the hoop in a tough playoff, slow down environment, get it down transition, if that's what they, were typically used to doing and they can't in the playoffs, how he might be able to do just fine. But I'm curious to see how he does in his first ever playoffs. But that doesn't change the fact that OKC Thunder are going to continue to win some games, and they're very young, and they're going to be Jalen Williams, man. By the way, Jalen Williams, one of the best spot up.
No one talks about Jalen Williams.
No one talks about him. He is one of the top 2 or 3 best spot up jump shooters in the entire NBA, and he's freaking second year right now. He can score. He's physical. He get in the lane. He could do a lot offensively. So he's not getting a lot of love in this OKC Thunder team. Keep an eye on him moving forward. All right. So any thoughts on the Thunder?
Yeah, I think. Well, now people are questioning, what is this list based off of? Chris's opinion. All right,
it's based off of how they're playing.
Yeah,
currently in the NBA.
Maybe. And the Thunder are a half game behind the Nuggets now because the Nuggets have played one more game. They're right there in the West as the number 1 overall seed, and I think they have 3 elite offensive players in SGA, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren. Beyond that, I had concerns. And what I have concerns about, you touched on with SGA, but it's not just him, it's everyone. No one's played in the playoffs on this team. No one knows what that environment looks like and how that changes things. So yeah, I think it's a basic take, but I agree with the take. Like, the Thunder are going to be a problem moving forward, no doubt. But we're at least a year away from them being a true contender in my mind. Like, you gotta, and maybe I just sound like an old balls or something, but you gotta pay your dues. You gotta figure out what playoff basketball is about. You gotta figure out how that works. Because beyond those 3 guys shooting the ball, I would welcome anyone else. Giddey, Dort, whoever else wants to shoot the ball on that team, I'd welcome. If I'm an opponent, I'm like, just make sure SGA, Jalen Williams, and Chet aren't getting good looks, and then game over.
I worry about Chet staying on the court also in his first playoffs with getting foul trouble, things along those lines. But that's another thing. Would you and Milwaukee asks, who would you pick in a series tomorrow, Suns or Thunder? This isn't so. These power rankings, just to be clear, these power rankings aren't based on who's my contender rankings and current right now power rankings of how they're playing as of this week, as of the last week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever it may be. The short term versus the overall contender rankings are completely different. Contender rankings, you won't see the Pelicans or the Knicks or the Cavaliers. Cavaliers didn't even make my contender rankings, but they're playing good basketball now. So that's kind of how this is going. So sure, we can say I would take the Suns over the Thunder if that was a series, probably, and it would be close.
I think that would be a toss-up to me.
It would be close, but that doesn't have an impact on this particular list.
If you're taking the Suns, I'll take the Thunder in that series.
I think the ceiling for the Thunder, going back to them, I think they could win a first round series, and then I think they get into some trouble. But it also depends on the matchup and the size matchups with who they're playing against.
The Suns have a lot of issues.
But KD, Booker, and those guys getting on, when they're on the court,
I would welcome the first time they play together.
It just doesn't happen very often,
Doesn't happen at all.
Number 2.
If it did, it's not a fit.
Number 2, we have
Wait.
Oh.
Damn it.
What do we got?
It was pretty obvious it was going to be the Celtics. I wanted to ruin your parade and guess the team, but that's a layup, so it's fine.
The Celtics. Celtics come in at number 2. Now, Celtics, they took their 11-game winning streak on the road, dropped the first 2 games of their 5-game trip, losing the Cavs without Donovan Mitchell, failing to score a single jump shot over 9 minutes, by the way, in that game, which is one of the things that I've been harping on all season long. But and then they lost. They lost to another playoff championship team, i.e. the Denver Nuggets, in another close game, getting swept on the season series. Offensively, number 1. Defensively, they're really good as well. I think they're number 2 or 3 based off of where they're at now. But the Celtics, over those 2 losses that I mentioned, the Cavs and the Nuggets, scored just 109.8 points over those 2 losses. They bounced back in impressive wins over the Suns. They've been on a tough road trip, so I have that in the back of my head of like, all right, you go through these droughts here and there on these road trips, so I get that. They don't have a lot of interesting games on the schedule. They have like 2 games each against the Blazers, the Wizards, the Pistons, and the Hornets, so it's going to be kind of a cakewalk down the stretch. They pretty much have locked up that first spot in the East already, but overall, they've been the 3rd best in points in the paint per 100 possessions over the last 7 games, which I've been critical of them about trying to get more points in the paint, and they've been like 27th, 26th in that range as of late. So the fact that they've been doing that in the short term over the last 7 games has been a lot more promising and reasons for optimism from that standpoint. But other than that, Boston Celtics are still good. They're going to finish out the season strong, and they're going to probably, finish off number 1 overall in the NBA when it's all said and done, record-wise.
Yeah, they will. They'll finish number 1 overall. They got a really, really good, starting 5 with... I mean, we've talked about the Nuggets being the best starting 5, but, like, they're neck and neck with that. I mean, obviously, you have Tatum and Brown, Porzingis, White, Holiday. Like, you have a starting 5 that's really, really good. Obviously, interior defense-wise, I have concerns. Porzingis can get bullied, can't be relied on. This team, I kind of have the same concerns. Like, do they have the like mega all-star? Like, is Jason Tatum going to be... I have questions of whether Jason Tatum can be the best player on an NBA title team. I don't know that he can.
Well, he needs to be.
I don't. Correct. But I have concerns about that. I don't know. I don't know that I think Jason Tatum is a top 5 player in the league right now. I would not put him as a top 5 player. Now, they're a very balanced roster. Like the other night against the Nuggets, like Jaylen Brown went off. Jason Tatum kind of sucked. And they were right there at the end. But like, even I saw marquee, big name basketball guys talking about that game that are Boston fans being like, even it came down and it was close, but like everything was easier for the Nuggets in that game. Like, scoring was just easier for the Nuggets. The Celtics had to work way more hard, it was way more difficult to just score. For the Nuggets with Jokic and that lineup, it just seemed like easy and like they were always going to win, and then they did.
Yeah, I struggle.
The Celtics have been great, but the Nugs would take care of this team. That's all.
I just struggle how they will perform in the last when the game comes down to, again, those getting those high percentage shots at the end of a close clutch game. Can they rely? I mean, Jason Tatum against the Nuggets missed a wide open 3 to make that. I don't know if it was to go up or if it was to cut it to 1 in that game.
Up 1.
Yeah. So, those types of things in late in games you need. You already got your everyone else was contributing at that point, and you need your superstar to deliver in those moments, and you just can't guarantee he's going to. So that's the thing. But overall, I mean, the Boston Celtics, they're, as long as they don't go up against like the Miami Heat or something, and the Miami Heat will kind of expose you for your deficiencies. They'll figure it out. They're well coached, and that's why they always find themselves where they are. But that's something that people are saying, would you take the field or the Celtics? And like a lot of people are taking like the Celtics over the field in the East.
Well, that's
in the East.
Like to win the East?
To win the East. Celtics are the field. And
that makes
sense.
I could hear that argument, but I like winning it all would be wild.
No, not winning it all. Just winning Chris, the East.
We got to get to this number one team, which obviously, like, spoiler alert, guys, it's going to be the Lakers.
Lakers. No.
They haven't been on this list yet, so obviously this is where we place them.
The Nuggets coming in at number one here. 7th overall offensively, 10th defensively as of right now from an offensive and defensive rating standpoint. 2-0 against Boston, having held the most efficient offense, the one that we just talked about, most efficient offense in history, to 7.7 fewer points per 100 possessions below their normal season mark. They've had, by the way, the easiest remaining schedule set, a cumulative opponent winning percentage of 470 among the top 4 teams in the West. So like their schedule is getting easier and easier down the stretch, which is good for them. They've had a tough schedule in the first half, kind of lightening it up a little bit. Tough loss against the Suns. KD kind of went off. We didn't really have an answer for that, but sometimes KD just goes off. So one of Jokic's not so great games of the season. He's had a couple stinkers this year, but like that was he wasn't as sharp in this particular Phoenix game. But overall, this is a crazy stat. There have only been 14 instances this season where a team has made fewer than 5 3-pointers, with teams 6-8 in those games. 6 wins, 8 losses in those games. The Nuggets are the only team with 2 wins in which they made fewer than 5 threes, with the 2 wins having come against the Bucks and the Celtics. They shot 4 for 18 against the Bucks, 4 for 21 against the Celtics, and they won those games. So the fact that they had some of their worst shooting nights from a 3-point perspective against those teams, and they still came out with a way to win, just shows you how good they can be on all these different levels. Jokic ranks 21st overall in usage rate at 28.8%, but 4th in clutch usage rate at 38.2%. So when the game matters, you run it through Jokic and he freaking crushes, right? So he makes the right plays when you need it. And that's why the Nuggets are coming in here, especially with how they've been playing. They're 9-1 in their last 10, and they've been playing the best basketball since the All-Star break of most teams that are playing right now.
Chris, I wanted to make a joke like, oh, of course you picked the Nuggets, but they're actually trash. But obviously, as people know on the stream, I'm very familiar with greatness, right? Like my teams and myself, we're just great. So I'm very familiar with this. I will say this right now, and it's not even a hot take. It's not anything. It's just inevitable.
Inevitable.
The Denver Nuggets are winning back-to-back NBA championships. It's just it's happening. No one in the NBA is beating this Nuggets team fully healthy. All right, caveat. They got to be fully healthy, right? If they continue on, they're healthy right now. So if they continue to be healthy, no one is beating this. And I sound like, Nick Wright's partner, but no one is beating this Denver Nuggets team in a 7-game series if they're fully healthy. That's not happening. It's just not. And call me a homer, call me whatever. What I do know is I try ad nauseum to tell people that the Chiefs are going to win this game left and right. They're going to do this and that, and no one listens to me, Chris. How many times do I have to be right before people start listening to me?
Say the word and I'll mute him.
It's exhausting for me. I'm like, I try and give you guys the keys to success in the castle. To bet. Make some money. You can wager on this stuff. and you just fail to listen. You're like, no, I'm just gonna. I don't really agree. Actually, I hate that guy. He's the worst. Being AKA me. But you can you can think I'm the worst, but you know what I am?
You're right.
Right. I'm right.
Yeah, and by the way, Nuggets, if you missed out on us telling you to take the Nuggets as the NBA champion at plus 420, 4-1, you missed out of your chance because now it's down to 330. 3-1. Little over 3-1 on your money. Boston Celtics lead on the NBA championship odds is slowly decreasing as the days go on. As the Denver Nuggets continue to rattle off wins past the All-Star break. By the way, don't let the Nuggets get the first number 1 seed if you're anyone in the West, because it's a nail in the coffin, right? Having to come to Denver for 4 games, if it even lasts that long, it's not going to be in your best interest. The best home court advantage based off of the altitude, based off of the team that you're running up and down the court with, it's just not going to be a good situation for you. And so that's why, I mean, again, I have the Nuggets number 1 in my contender rankings. I had Boston up in my top tier at number 2 overall in my contender rankings, and they were just kind of together. I almost think Boston is in the tier of its own below the Nuggets at this point, and I need to update my contender rankings because that's ever fluid and flowing. So we'll be getting to that and updating that here soon as well.